Started applying for masters, was not easy. I was too old already for a master's degree, to be honest, for several places, even though we know it's against the law, blah, 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 to put a threshold on age. We know all this, but they do. I mean, you above 30 applying for these degrees, they're like, no, thank you. Plus a very weird CV I had. I mean, I was a flight attendant and a professional diver, graduated in Australia. I was like, no, she has issues. I mean, you know.
I mean, I would see the positives in that.
Yeah, exactly.
But other people,
the funny thing is that they say like, oh, you don't know what you want, and it's exactly the opposite. I know what I want, and I'm taking any opportunity I have to get this done.
Yeah.
You know, but I understood that later on. I was like, I don't want to reach to the people that see it that way to say, oh, you don't know what I want. I want to reach out to the people that see like, oh, okay, you really tried hard here. You know, you really made the most out of your opportunities. This is the kind of people I want to work with, and this is the kind of people I want to reach out to.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Blooming Late Scientist podcast. We're back today with another amazing guest. I'm so excited to hear this story. You're going to be sick of me saying this on every episode, but it's genuinely true. Today we have Thais Langer. So I'm going to hand over to you, Thais, to talk about what it is you do.
Hi, everyone. I currently work in science communication, mostly on marketing and content and strategy in general for science-based companies. And how I got here is the weird story. So that's what we're going to tell you a little bit today.
That's why we're here.
Yeah, that's why we're here.
But can I ask you, before we kind of go backwards to tell the story, so how did you end up actually doing this, the marketing, and what is it that you enjoy about it?
Well, I was always over communicative, so to say, since school. Actually, back in school, my teachers wanted me to go for journalism, or social communication and marketing. I said, no, come on. I mean, that's just, everybody can do that. Because for me, it was just so easy, so natural. I was like, no, everybody can do that. I want to go to science. I actually wanted to be a vet. And the irony of all this is that after my PhD, I ended up doing exactly what they said, but focused on science. So I actually put everything together, like what I thought I had a talent at the beginning with what I really wanted to become and work on, which was science. And actually, that's how I ended up mixing everything at the end.
So for you, like, what is it that you enjoy the most about marketing in terms of science communication?
It's being able to literally like take very complex information, really be able to understand hardcore science and hard sciences and transform that into a useful information. Is like a knowledge transfer. You know, you're just bringing what is being done in university or being published in research papers and often not very clearly written or not reachable, and make that reachable and make that useful, make that people understand how they can actually use that in practice. It's literally transforming science into real life knowledge. I think this is what I like.
It's so important, isn't it? Because, you know, we both know that as scientists, you get bogged down in the detail. And you might make assumptions that everybody else knows what you're talking about.
Absolutely.
Because, of course, when you present, you know, when you're doing a research or anything like that, generally people do know what you're talking about. And it's so hard to get your head out of that when you start going into companies, you know, or commercializing products. You then have to get yourself out of that mindset. So I think, you know, what you do and what we do, similar things, right, is so key. It's just crucial. But so is this your business, or do you work? This is yours.
I'm now it's been my business, and I had a client and I was hired by my client and I worked with this client for 2 years as an exclusive contract. And now I'm getting out again because I'm going back to my business again. And I think, as you said, it's important, of course, for that reason to really bring that, you know, knowledge out of the lab, but also as a researcher, we should ask ourselves the question, why am I doing this for? You know, what is the translational value of what I'm doing? Where is it going? Because we can't lose track of that too. You know, you get so into that research that you might lose track of like, but what is the, you know, the meaning of this in the real life. How does this apply to real life? What is this going to bring to the world that we live in terms of real use of this knowledge? And I think we often get so caught up in academia, in the academic mindset, that we lose track of what is the real importance of what I'm doing.
I guess what's nice as well for people that work with you is that you can relate to them, right? Because you've been in their shoes.
Yeah.
You know what it's like. You know it's difficult to get your head out of that mindset. And I think people want to work with people that feel that kind of almost empathy for that situation.
Yeah. It's actually that communication is understanding both sides, right? It's really understanding how they think. So you have to understand, how do I communicate with scientists so they can hear me, or they are interested in listening to me, and also bringing that back to industry and R&D and sales teams, for instance, for them to understand how that is literally bridging the gap, literally creating a bridge of communication, where you say, okay guys, this is not important for you, but this is important for them, but not saying these words, like bringing the information that each one of them need to hear and understand how to put that together in order to bring the final communication, the final message out there. And I think this is a challenge for many companies. It's incredible. The more I talk to companies, especially small to medium-sized companies, they really struggle into connecting these departments into one communication and saying, okay, this is important for you as an R&D, or this is important for you as sales, but here you go. So what is important for the final consumer, and what do they want to hear from you? What kind of information they want to receive from you? What is it that they are looking for, and in which way? What's the format of this communication? It's very important. So I think the science audience is really specific. It's not the same as selling normal, consumables out there. It's by far not the same. So it's and I think this is where we enter, like scientists that have been in academia for a while, like me and you, but have also a diverse background, that understand, customer facing jobs, and understand communication, and understand the hard science. You can read a paper and you can really transform that and understand it at a deeper level, and kind of connect all this. I think this is where I think there are a few people that can do what we do, to be very honest, not trying to brag, but I really see that way.
I think you've hit the nail right on the head there, because it's one of the reasons why I wanted to do this podcast as well, because when I did my PhD, I don't know about you, but everything I did before that was almost dismissed. It was like, no, that doesn't matter anymore. This is your life now. Forget about that. Don't put any of that on your CV.
Yeah.
And I didn't.
Yeah. I was almost ashamed of saying there. I was like, I was a flight attendant during my bachelor's. People were like, what? That was just not applicable. And the more I stayed in academia, and I could see scientists and PhD candidates that could not communicate even with their main audience, even with other experts. It's not like, oh, I cannot tell my science to my grandmother. No, this is a whole new level, and it's a challenge for all of us, because it's very complex what we do. But the fact that you cannot even put up with a decent presentation for your peers, or write a paper that just tells the story of your science to your peers. How many papers have you probably struggled to read, and it was from your main field of expertise?
Loads.
Yeah. And okay, this is my field of expertise, but I'm struggling reading just the intro of it. I just don't understand where you're trying to get to, and your discussion makes no sense, honestly. And I felt like, okay, Thais, maybe you just don't know enough to judge this way. You go through the whole like imposter syndrome kind of feeling. I've been talking to people. I've had a lot of customers facing jobs. I've been all over the world, and I could see as like, guys, you cannot communicate to your peers. Let's not even go to the level 2, which is other people, and I think so what we've done, and the fact that we have a diverse background, is very necessary in academia, like real life work and experience, because PhD is work experience. I don't see it as a PhD student. I don't even like the saying PhD student. No, you're a PhD candidate. You graduated already. You're producing knowledge, you're managing a project, you're doing your own thing. You barely have support, and we know this. So it's a job.
Yeah, that's the bit I was going to say. If you were a student, you'd get a lot more support, right?
Yeah. Yeah. You would get support.
Not to make a dig at academia, because I know some people have an incredible experience.
Yeah.
But yeah, there is a lack of support for sure.
Yeah.
So if you don't mind, let's go back then. So where do you want to start? Like, did you do a science undergrad?
Yes, I did. While I was flying, actually, I started in veterinary school right after school, high school. I got into vet school because I wanted to be a vet. There was no other thing I wanted to be in my life. Honestly, I still have doubts about it. I still go, I'd like to be a vet. I couldn't finish because of my family went through a big breakdown financially, and I had to. And at that time, I was entering my 4th year of veterinary school, so it was pretty advanced.
Oh, wow.
So I thought, I'm going to take just a year break. I'm going to just work a little bit, and then I'll go back and I'll finish it. Well, clearly we know that that's not how it ended, because I'm here talking to you about all this today. So, so I ended up taking several other jobs, and I could study in the evenings only, so I couldn't study science because, we know that studying science takes a lot more
Yeah,
time.
a
So I
lot.
was working during the day, and then I started studying finally social communication and digital media in the evenings. And I got a job at an advertising agency, a very big advertising agency at the time. And then I started studying. I shifted into international marketing, stayed there for a while, but I was like, I don't want to go to science. I want to do science. That's not the thing. It's not the thing. And I learned a lot about marketing and communications and so on. But as I said to you, at that time, it came natural to me. I'm the kind of extrovert that talk to people at a bus stop. So I had that in me. So anyway, my brother took a job as a flight attendant, and he was making good money, and he was having a good life, a national airline. And I thought, wow, I mean, I could do that maybe, and then I could afford going back to study. The problem would be the time, but still, I'll work it out. I was always like, I'll work it out. Let's go one step at a time, But anyway, then Emirates was coming to my hometown for an open day. And at that time, was 2007. Dubai was not that famous, was not the thing that it had become
Yeah, I
in the
mean, now
next
it's
few
big,
years.
isn't
It
it?
was just starting. And I thought, okay, what is this about? I'm just going to go there and check it out. Yeah, at the end, of course, I got the job. It was a long process. They were very strict in their, recruitment process. And I got the job. And that's when I decided, oh, okay, I guess I'm moving to the Middle East. I didn't really think this through. I should have given a thought before this, because they kind of sent me the tickets and just, pack your bags. You're coming in a month. I was like, okay, how do I tell my family this? I have to tell people. I haven't told people yet. I did a whole recruitment process thinking, I don't even know if I'm gonna
You
get
said
this,
nothing.
But anyway, I got the job. I moved November 2007. I remember. And as I moved there, I thought, I can afford going back to study now because I was making good money. It was a really good job, but Thais, but you're flying like all over the world, and you're never home. And how are you going to do this? It's like, I'm going to find a way. And I did. So I translated all the courses I've done before, all the documents and description of courses, because I thought maybe I can validate these things and get the credits. And I find a university that, I don't know, I can work distance somehow. I don't know. Well, I did. I actually got through Open Universities Australia, and I got into RMIT, the Royal Melbourne Institute of
Oh,
Technology.
wow.
Yes, for applied sciences degree, and I validated quite a few credits from vet school and everything that I've done. And less than a year as a flight attendant, I was already starting my studies. So I was really focused. The thing is, for the next 3 years, I was then studying. I would receive all the lectures and study by myself wherever I was, hotel rooms, galleys of Boeing 777s or, Airbus, whatever, the best galley feature I could find. I would just use it as write a report. But I had the laboratory projects to attend, so I would take vacations from work and then go to Melbourne. I spent these weeks there doing the lab work, doing the projects in the lab, go back to work and write my reports and send to the professors. The beautiful thing is that I received a lot of support from quite a few professors that said, are you serious that you're flying and then you're going to come back here in 3 months to do the laboratory and then go back to flying? I was like, well, yeah. And I look back now and I see how they see it. But at
Yeah.
that time, as I'm there, I didn't see it this way. I was like, why is he looking at me like this? He's looking at me as like, are you serious? And I don't get it, you know. Now I get it, to be
Yeah,
honest.
I mean, that's serious commitment, right?
Yes, that is, yeah, that, but for me it was so obvious. Like, I really want to do this. I finally have a chance, and this is the way that I can do it. This is the way I'm going to do it.
Mm.
Honestly, it was exhausting for 3 years. I had no vacation. I had no time off.
I don't know how you did that.
Yeah, I don't know either. I think that's what made me a bit, you know, I don't know, even more crazy about vacations than I was back then. But the problem is that, okay, I got to my graduation day and I was like, okay, but at least for my graduation, I want to be there in person. So I went to my graduation, but as I'm sitting there and talking to other people now, all my colleagues started saying, well, I got this internship now at this lab with this professor. Well, I'm getting my honors at this. I'm doing my honors at this lab. Well, I'm going straight for my master's degree there. And I realized I didn't do any real networking because I couldn't do any internships.
No.
I couldn't be in any labs. And I started getting that panic attack as I'm sitting there waiting for them to call my name and get my degree. I was like, should I go there and get my degree? Because why am I taking this for? Why? What's the use of it? I mean, I'm competing with these people here that are much younger than me, because I was 30 by the time I finished my undergrad. And they have all these, you know, internships and networking and people they know. And I'm here like, yeah, I'm a flight attendant. I fly and I just, you know, and I did a double major because why would you do only one major if you can do two and you're flying at the same time? I mean, really nonsense. But yeah, so of course they called my name like, well, I went this far, I'm going to get this degree, I'm going to get this diploma, and then I'll see what I do with it. Then I quit my job at Emirates because I was really exhausted, to be honest. I was really, really tired.
That's not surprising given what you'd just done.
Yeah. And everybody said, why don't you take some time off? I was like, no, I'm going to, yeah, that's where it comes like, it gets worse. Because during that time, I was also volunteering for some projects in Thailand, marine resource management projects. I love the ocean and I was a diver. So from time to time, I would go there and volunteer to build artificial coral reefs and so on. So when I quit Emirates and I graduated, I thought, you know what, I'm going to take a break. I'm going to move to Thailand, to this small island, and I'm going to take my professional diving license. And I'm going to work with them for a while. So I did it. I got my dive master license. I worked in leading teams and marine management projects and building coral reefs, maintaining coral reefs underwater. It was really exhausting job, 5 dives a day, but it was beautiful. I mean, I didn't wear a pair of socks for like 6 months. It was so cool. But
I mean, that's pure happiness there, right? Not having to wear socks.
Yeah, absolutely. Not even flip flops. I mean, just bare feet, you know, like, you know, it was really, really nice. But I felt like, yeah, but it's not where I want to stay. I want to continue that thing of everybody going for something more stayed in my head. And I wanted to do science. I wanted to continue. I felt like I'm just not even halfway into my studies. You know, I want to bring something more here, even to these projects, what I'm doing. I want to understand it deeper. I was curious. I think I just wanted to understand things at a deeper level. Started applying for masters, was not easy. I was too old already for a master's degree, to be honest, for several places, even though we know it's against the law, blah, 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 to put a threshold on age. We know all this, but they do. I mean, you above 30 applying for these degrees, they're like, no, thank you. Plus a very weird CV I had. I mean, I was a flight attendant and a professional diver, graduated in Australia. I was like, no, she has issues. I mean, you know.
I mean, I would see the positives in that.
Yeah, exactly.
But other people,
the funny thing is that they say like, oh, you don't know what you want, and it's exactly the opposite. I know what I want, and I'm taking any opportunity I have to get this done.
Yeah.
You know, but I understood that later on. I was like, I don't want to reach to the people that see it that way to say, oh, you don't know what I want. I want to reach out to the people that see like, oh, okay, you really tried hard here. You know, you really made the most out of your opportunities. This is the kind of people I want to work with, and this is the kind of people I want to reach out to. So this I understood later on. So I got into a program, a molecular biology program at Umeå University, which is again like, how did I get here? Because, you know, it's where the CRISPR-Cas9 came from and the whole thing. It was right at the same school. I was like, are these guys crazy? They took me. And you go there, like, I'm totally gonna, you know, hide my imposter syndrome, which is up to the roof right now. And I'm gonna pretend I'm cool. I'm gonna pretend I just belong here because I was so afraid. I was like, did they see my CV? And they did. And this is what is special about Sweden. And I knew I was in the right place to do my master's degree. And differently than you that even mentioned today, I saw a post from you. You said it was hard for you because you didn't have any examples to follow. You didn't have anybody older there that had done a different path that, you know. I was lucky enough that I did have. I had that during my bachelor's. There was this guy who became a really good friend of mine. He was also older, trying to do an undergrad degree. I met 2 other women that were mothers and so on, and they were also doing it more or less like me. So I connected with people like this that kept me going as well, that I saw there are more people out there like trying hard and, you know, believing that whatever, I know I'm older, I know I have a different path, but this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
So I think I was lucky to be in Sweden because Sweden is a country that is quite normal for people to do things older, to start their studies older, and that for me was like, oh God, yeah, this is great, because I feel that, yeah, I mean, I belong here. I have other people to exchange on this experience. And then I took a job as a research assistant in a lab, and at the end of my first year of my master's, where also the same lab where I've written my thesis, and she had finished her PhD at 40. She defended her thesis when she was 40. And for me, she was an inspiration. She's like, okay, I can do this. If, you know, I can do this, because I finished my master's, I was 34. And I thought, I'm going to start applying for a PhD at 34. Nobody's going to take me. Yeah. And it was, again, the same prejudice. Oh, okay, but you're at this age. What are you going to do with a PhD? Because you go to certain interviews for PhDs, and they think that the only path you have is to become a professor. And it's not, and we know it. There are so many other things that you can bring into the world by doing a PhD, with a PhD. And it's a shame that we're not trained for that. We don't know this when we're there, you know.
No. And it's still like that now, isn't it? I mean, it hasn't changed.
No. Although we talk a lot, you know, LinkedIn, so many discussions on this, and it's just the same, you know, square kind of, this is the path, this is what you have to do, this is what you have to have done before to be worth it, you know.
It's that, or if the university has like spin outs, then it's like, oh, you're either a professor and you teach, or you set up your own company.
Yeah.
But what about the people that don't want to do those 2 things?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's crazy.
Exactly. I mean, and then let's face it, all this knowledge transfer and all these initiatives must be done by people that have been both sides. You know, it's really the best way to go. But anyway, I worked for 2 years in a wonderful lab. I had a wonderful supervisor. This was really like, whoa, this is so great. I mean, I see people going through a hard time in academia and research and having awful supervisors, whatever. And I don't know what they're talking about, because I really love my research group. And this is what also inspired me. I can do a PhD. I mean, it's pretty great. Of course, I found out that later that it wasn't the case. But after a while, I got into Hanover Biomedical School, which was, again, really a big win for me. I even went to an interview with a professor for a PhD project, where he sat down in front of me. He looked at my CV. I never forgot that, because I was like, gosh. And he looked at me and said, so, you're 36. And I'm like, no, I'm actually 35. You miscalculated. And then he goes, oh, yeah, okay, sorry, you're 35. I was like, yeah. What's your question? I literally did this. You know, I asked him, so what's your question? Because I know my age, basically.
That's just a statement, right?
Yeah. And then he said, oh, no, nothing. And I thought, I'm never going to work for this guy. I'm just not going to, it's just not worth it, you know. but then I got into a program at Hanover Biomedical Research School, a nice lab. I loved my project. It wasn't that successful, to be honest, and so on. But I mean, in academic terms, in terms of publications and so on, I didn't have that many publications. But because I started a project from scratch, literally for my PhD, it was not a project that was already ongoing or running. We literally started with the screening genes for,
Oh,
a whole
okay.
project. So
Yeah.
it's more like a postdoc project or something that it was really
Mhm.
challenging, but I'm very thankful. I was interested. I kept me going because I was curious. Like, I want to know how this thing works. It was literally what kept me going. I was like, how does that work? Every experiment I was like, oh my God, mind blown. So this is what I loved.
I do you know what? So weirdly, my PhD was the same. So there was nobody working on the project. So it kind of started from nothing. And at the time when I did my PhD, I used to look at other people that were in these established projects and be so jealous of them because they would be publishing left,
Yeah,
right, and centre,
yeah.
getting results in the first 6 months of their PhD. And there I was still trying to clone my constructs 18 months into it. But
18
now I
months
look
into it.
back, I think I'm so pleased that I had a PhD like that, because don't you think it's such a great learning curve?
Oh yeah. And this is what a PhD is for, isn't it? It
Exactly.
should be for that. But
Yeah.
no, it's like, oh, you can only get the maximum grade if you have a first author paper on this high impact journal. I mean, there are few schools that literally say this, you cannot get a maximum grade otherwise. And if you start a project from scratch, you can't have that in 3
No,
years. Let's
you
face it.
can't.
It's a reality of science. And
Can't
what
do it.
surprises me the most, that this is a whole other podcast that we can go through, but literally, I mean, everybody in science knows this. And we still judge people by how many papers you got. I mean, I had friends also that did like 3, 4, 5 first author papers, but they were working on projects that were running for 2 years before they started their
Exactly.
PhDs.
Yeah.
They got halfway into it. I was like, yeah, guys, cool. But as you said, I'm thankful that didn't happen to me. And also, if that had happened to me, maybe I would be still stuck in academia in my comfort zone, let's put it like that, and saying like, yeah, why am I going to leave? Because I mean, I get another postdoc and another postdoc and another postdoc and another postdoc,
Exactly. Yeah.
and maybe it's not really what what was fit for me.
Mm.
Because at the end of the day, I went back I did a short postdoc afterwards. I started running my business as a freelancer, and then I went back and did another short postdoc. And I said, I'm just trying to do everything at the same time. Taste for once in your life, focus on one thing, get one thing done. So I went back to communication, which is my strong point. And I see it now when I talk to companies and other researchers or people, marketeers actually working in science-based companies. They are not scientists per se, but they can do really good job in marketing, but they do not understand the scientific
Yeah.
audience or or the difference in scientific publications and so on. They need our help to actually sort that out. And because we can put together the skills of a marketeer, in my case, a real marketeer that is really does hardcore marketing and understands the whole thing, and my ability to understand the scientific audience and knows how to communicate with both sides, the marketeers, the R&D, the sales, the consumer, the final consumer, maybe early startups even, and the scientific community. And how do I link this? So this is where I thought, okay, this is where I can be really helpful and use my really weird and diverse experience, so to say, and still bring the science, to use. So,
But I mean, it is all of those experiences that make you good at what you do, right?
absolutely,
So without them, we wouldn't be having this conversation, in fact, would
absolutely,
we? Because I think particularly with marketing and science communication, those additional skills that you gain from other things that you've done, and it's normally the communication skills.
yeah,
They're the things that really make the difference, because I don't know about you, but I think because we weren't always scientists, we remember what it's like to be communicated to and not understand. So
absolutely,
you almost can put yourself, you've been the scientist, but like you say, you've been the other side. You know
yeah,
what it's like to receive that information and not understand.
yeah,
So okay, this is how I need to communicate that. And also, working with different kinds of people throughout your career means that you do learn that you can't speak to, let's say, R&D in the same way, like you said, that you would the final consumer.
Yeah.
You understand that. And I
Yeah.
see so many companies, this is like a mini rant now.
Yeah.
I see so many companies get this wrong because they think you communicate to everyone in the same way.
Yeah. And they don't see the importance of intercommunication, like endo-marketing, literally
Oh, yes,
inside a
so
company,
important.
to bring that as a reflection to the final consumer out there.
Yeah.
And this is literally, I always say, guys, the way we do things inside reflects outside. The
Yes.
people notice it. Please, let's just start cleaning the house. And then we bring it outside. Let's define our, brand guidelines, how we communicate here, what do we need from each other, how do we, connect the departments, and then we bring that outside. So it's really hard for them to understand that, they need to really connect all ends. It's not just like, oh, let's do something quick here. We can do this little folder. We can just put anything on the website, and then they call us, and then we figure this out. No, don't do this. Whatever we put on the website has to be connected to the sales pitch, has to be connected with what our RD can do,
Right.
and what they're doing and how they know the product, has to be connected with the product manager and how they also, their experience on customer support and so on. We need to work this out. And it is really challenging. And and it's a funny thing because for me, it was always so obvious that I thought, nah, come on, I'm sure they see this. But no,
Yes.
the more I work with clients like this, the more I see that, no, they really struggle. I have clients actually that do not have a marketing department at all, like small companies start, we don't need marketing. We don't need a communication specialist. We have a great product. The product is taking itself. Right?
No.
Dude, you can really build the best, most innovative thing in the world. If you cannot explain that, you reach no one. So it's all about, how do you explain this? How do you explain this? And who do you want to explain that with? It's not like, oh, let's do this, then we can reach everyone. No, you don't want to reach everyone. You do not want to reach everyone. I mean, we know we cannot please everyone. And I think you have a similar personality that I do, because I've been following you online, bringing the hard truth. I mean, I know I don't please everyone. But the few that I please are the ones that really need what I have to offer. And the ones that can be really helped by it. And this is what I want to do. At the end of the day.
Doing these things sometimes when you're older is better, because you've got to that stage of your life where you realize that you cannot make everyone like you, and you shouldn't want to do that, because if you're doing that, you're giving up parts of yourself that are really important.
And you're not doing it well. If you're not really being what you're good at, you're not going to do it well.
Yeah, I'm totally in agreement with you. One of the things that really frustrates me actually is, like when you were just talking about the companies and the kind of fact that they don't concentrate on their internal marketing, it just amazes me. Like, you go into bigger companies and you'll ask the sales team what marketing is doing, and they'll go, well, I don't know. And I think, if you are confused inside the company, imagine what your end users feel like.
Precisely.
Like, if you don't even know what's going on in the company, how can anyone possibly understand outside?
Yeah.
It's just absolutely crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. And it really affects the brand at the end of the day, it really does. And I think I can understand that really well, again, because as a research assistant, I was a research assistant for 2 years. I was running from in vivo, all the experiments in vivo, because I had a background in veterinary. So at some point I was taking care of 300 mice. It was a lot of work. And then I was doing all the in vitro experiments, training people, creating the SOPs, writing the protocols for everyone. So I was really involved in a lot of laboratory techniques, several different techniques. And my job was also to find solutions for different experiments of different projects of masters or PhDs or medical students. So I had to find a solution. So I was always looking for solutions on, okay, we need to run this experiment. I don't even know if the solution exists. So how do I find it? How do we find this? So this is how I work now with companies like, hey, they don't know that my solution exists. What can I do? It's like, okay, we need to develop a whole strategy of communication and create content that people will reach out to you. People like me in the past Thais there, will reach out to you, will read your stuff and say, oh, okay, maybe this could work for me. But they need to do the reading before they talk to you. Don't do this sales pitch during a webinar. Don't do
Oh
a sales
no.
pitch on what you write. Don't do this. If you put only sales people to write this content, you're going to lose the people like before. So be aware of the sign. Everybody has their consumer journey that goes from awareness to decision making, going through consideration. We know all days in marketing, and scientists go, they 89.7% of laboratory purchases and scientists, they really need to do their reading of white papers and several different documents before they will click the buttons like talk to a specialist.
Yeah.
And this communication is very specific, and you need to provide the real thing. And I think because I've been both sides, and just marketing, science, social communication, and so on. I loved social communication. It was a really cool course, by the way. It was just mind-blowing. It was all into the philosophy of how people perceive communication, from everything from the colors to the design to,
that sounds really interesting.
yeah, it's more than writing. It's just how the writing is done there, how much white space you have. It's how it is designed to really relate to the cognitive power that we have out to our natural cognition. Anyway, that's a whole new podcast again. But understanding all these and scientists really puts me in a position, was like, okay, my skills are pretty unique now. But this is how I think now. To be honest with you, Martina, I was ashamed of my CV for years. People look at me now and say, wow, you're so self-confident. I was like, no, I built it because I was ashamed of saying, yeah, I'm not a real scientist. I was a flight attendant, and I was a diver, and I was a waitress, and I was a hotel receptionist. And I finished my undergrad at 30 and my PhD at 40. I mean, I was 40 when I defended my thesis, and I was, the only one older there. Everybody was 25, 26, 27, and I thought I was in a disadvantage. I thought it was playing against me, until I thought, you know what? I'm sure I can reach to people that can see the value that my experience has. And this is the people I want to reach out to. I don't want to try to fit in anymore. I just want to say, this is what I have. This is what I can help you with. If you're looking for something else, cheaper or younger or whatever, I'm sorry, I don't have it in me. But I think the diversity of experiences adds up a lot to what I do right now.
I mean, I'm so with you. And the thing you said just then about, realizing that you don't have the energy to pretend you're someone else, that's the thing, isn't it? Because trying to be something else, you actually spend more time trying to be the something else than you do being anything else or being happy.
Yeah.
And I think, I finished my PhD at the same age as you. And I think that I agree. I got to a point probably about a year after finishing where I thought, no, I've had enough now.
Yeah.
Like,
precisely.
If people don't like the way I am because I'm different to them, because I didn't have, I speak with an accent that is from an area of the UK that nobody likes. I mean, I can't do anything about this. It's just who I am, right?
Yeah.
So you have to accept that at some point, and then it kind of works to your advantage once you've accepted it.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it will, in the end, being authentic will connect you to the people that really see the value in you and what you do. And this is where you want to be, right? For work, for providing service, or for connecting with people, whatever it is, or for taking on a job, So I think being honest, of course, it's hard because you get tough feedbacks or no's that you didn't want to have. I was like, oh, I was really looking for a yes here. But I know this no came because I showed this or this side. It's tough. I get it a lot, and you learn how to deal with it, and you learn how to take that as a feedback. I mean, I'm a sports person, as you saw this during all this time. I was also competing, taking breaks here and there from sailing. I competed in really big competitions already, and I went from being really good, and I went from being humiliating myself at a race. I mean, you go, both, and you learn how to lose and you learn how to win. And actually, I had a very nice interview with a human resources the other day. She was really great, and she asked me, "Yeah, I see here that you have a sports career as well, and so on." I said, "Yeah, I've been doing that for a long time." She said, "Do you think your experience in sports is something that you bring to work?" I was like, "Oh yeah, I bring to everything in my life. The way you put yourself, like, to really try and carry on and lose one day and know that, okay, I lost today, but that doesn't mean I'm going to lose every day. I need to go back up. What did I learn from this loss? What did I learn from this fall? Why am I not handling the boat really well? Why did I lose this race? And try again next day. Different weather, different conditions. It goes the same at work. We have different weather, different conditions. The wind is shifting. I cannot predict the wind. I cannot control the wind. I can only adjust my sails. And this is how I work. Guys, this is the market. The market is there. You're not gonna, I want to wait for the market to be better, or does it? No, stop the wishes, quit the wishes. Let's adjust the sails. What kind of tools we have here to adjust to the market as it is? So my sailing experience and my sports experience and the way that I interact with my team in sports, which is not easy. I mean, you go through a lot of stress and ups and downs with your team, and you need to work that out and literally be on the same boat. I think I bring that a lot to my work and to how I work with teams. I'm leading a team now and where I work, and I lead my team as I would be in my sailing team, the same thing. I was like, guys, give me the tough feedback. Tell me what you're thinking. We need to work this through.
I love that. I mean, I have to say, so I've got a video coming out about this in a few weeks because I'm not a natural team player. Okay, everyone's going to come at me, right? And it's because I never really did competitive sports apart from I was a sprinter, but of course that's alone.
Yeah, it's very different.
And the people, so a company that I worked for before I set up the business, one of their managers there had a kind of competitive sports background. And she just had this natural ability to coach people, which I think is really important as a leader. Like you are, you probably have this innate ability to coach.
Yeah, I love it.
That's what makes a success, right, of a team.
Yeah, absolutely. I think if you work with other people, they expect more than a boss and a manager. And you can see that most satisfied people are because they have mentors and coaches rather than managers.
Yes.
If they see you like this, if they see you that you actually care about their growth and development rather than just performance, they will perform better. And this goes in sport. I mean, I'm saying this because I've been sailing the same boat for 25 years. And now I was at the Brazilian National Championship a few months ago, and I had a coach on his motorboat behind me telling me everything I was doing wrong. And you're like, I'm doing this for 25 years, and I have somebody here giving me feedback constantly, like, Thais, you can improve. Thais, he's great. And he would say with a smile, like, it really annoys me that you're still smiling and being so nice that I cannot even be angry at you right now, But it's so good because you learn that I know that he's doing this for me to do even better, to perform better, that I can go one step further, he cares. He was just my psychological support. My coaches are usually my psychological support, my mentorship, and my most difficult conversations. And the person I want to go to when I talk to them, the person that will see me falling and I know will give me that look at the end of the day. Yeah, we didn't perform really well today, but tomorrow is a new day. He's going to be there for me. And I think this is what I carry from sport. I believe that people at work want as well as a team. I want, especially people that are starting their careers, they want to feel like I'm safe to say that I failed. I'm safe to say I made a mistake. I'm safe to say, I don't know how to do this, Thais. Can you explain to me again? Because you gave me a task. Because sometimes if you're afraid of your manager, they will give you a task. You don't know how to do it, and you're not going to say it. Chances are this is going to go wrong. Chances are it's going to really, damage the project. But if you have a group of people that are safe with you, they will say, hey, Thais, you gave me that task in the meeting. Can we talk about it? Because I don't really know how to do it. I would go say, of course. Thank you for telling me, first of all. That's great. Let's talk this through. Where is your difficulty? What is it that you feel, secure in doing? What is it that you want to try? What is it that you hate? Get to know the person at a human level so you can work with them better. And your team will perform as a whole better because they will feel safe with each other to say, hey, guys, I screwed up. Sometimes we shared an office. Sometimes somebody would go up and say, "Hey, guys, I screwed up," and we were like, "Oh, come on!" I mean, it would become a joke, but it's like, okay, let's fix this. We got you. We got your back. We got your back. Few
Yeah.
companies do this and really understand this. They talk about teams. They talk about coaching. I
No,
don't see it.
I can definitely see that the people with that real sports background have this ability to do it. I've seen it in many people that I've worked with previously. They always, like you say, have that ability to make other people around them feel like it's okay to get things wrong.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's massive. I just want to ask you, if it's okay, one final question before we wrap up. Because I mean, it's just been brilliant hearing from you. I didn't know any of this about you. I mean, only what I see from LinkedIn, but actually hearing you tell the story has been so brilliant. I've loved it.
Thank you.
But I guess people will be thinking, there'll be people out there thinking, how do I do this? Like, is it too late for me to go and get a PhD?
Oh
What
no.
advice would you give them?
Go for it. You have to follow what you want to do, because the thing is, time will pass anyway. Oh, but it's going to take 4 years. Yeah, but 4 years from now, you're going to get a PhD, or 4 years from now, you're not. Pick,
It's a
because
good point.
time will go. It's not
Yeah.
like, oh, if I don't do it now, it's too late. And yeah, then 4 years are going to look back. I'm sure. I write that down. I said to them, write that down, because 4 years from now, you're going to look back and say, I was actually young. I could actually have done it. I was not that old. Because come on, we know it. After 40, we look back and like, oh, I thought I was old at 30. When you turn 30, I thought I was old at 25. You always think you're old at the end of the day. If you really look back, we always think I'm too old. I would always have reservations if you say, I want to become a professional gymnast at 35. Then I would say, yeah, maybe could be a bit tricky. But if you want to study, if you want to try a PhD, go for it. No, it's not too late, because the frustration later on in your life, that's going to weigh on you way more than giving it a try right now, and learning how far. Because I'm sure that if you do that step, you see how much further you can go than you thought you could. You don't know actually until you try.
Yeah.
So, and as I said, time will go. I always tell them, okay, oh, but it's too late. I'm 35. Yeah, but you're going to turn 40 anyway, unless you die before. And it's even worse if you die before, you didn't even try. I mean, what did you lose there? You just lost. You just wasted life. It's even worse. So if you think of you surviving until 40, how you want to see yourself at 40? How you want to look back and say, what did I do back then? Did I try things or not? If that's how you want to see yourself, you have no other choice. You have to jump on it. So, yeah.
I think we should end that with that. Time will pass anyway. That's such a good note to leave it on, because I think that will resonate with people. Thais, I just want to say thank you so much. Honestly, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on here. And we need to do another podcast now to talk about all the marketing things we just talked about. But honestly, it's been a pleasure. And I just want to say thank you to everyone listening. Thais, where can they find you if they want to know more about you and what you do?
They can find me on LinkedIn, and they absolutely connect with me, send me a message. I would love to hear from you. I love connecting with people and exchanging. And you can also check my blog or my website. It's sciencewriterspace.com. I'm trying to keep up with the publishing on my blog, but it's been hard. I want to start a whole career session now on my blog to talk about careers. It's just I need time for writing for myself instead of only clients. But yeah, find me there and connect with me. I'd love to hear from you.
We'll add the links to your LinkedIn and the website as well, so it's easy for people to find. But thank you so much, everyone. Thanks.
Thank you. Bye.